Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Thursday, January 26th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. It's been a very wet and windy day across Nova Scotia today. Much of the province has been blanketed in wind and rainfall warnings, and the Halifax area has been projected to be one of the areas hardest hit. Our weather specialist, Alistair Alders, has more on what we've seen so far and some of this afternoon's rainfall totals.
Thanks, Kate. Well, it was a wild weather day here in Halifax and across the entire province, thanks to a very strong Texas low that passed through the Western Maritimes. Let's start with a look at the satellite and radar imagery from the last 12 hours, and it really shows how the system moved across the province. There was initially a bit of snow on the leading edge of the system, but as you can see, it was quickly replaced by rain, at times heavy, across the entire province. It was really only northern New Brunswick that didn't experience a changeover to rain. You can see that rain was heavy at times, but then this afternoon, the rain did start to ease off from west to east. So here's the morning hours. We hit noon hour, it starts to clear in the southwest, and then it did start to ease around 3 o'clock here in the Halifax area. And in terms of how much rain we've experienced with the system so far, these are unofficial amounts, but about 35 millimeters in Yarmouth, 30 to 40 millimeters in the Halifax area, Western Head 29 millimeters, Greenwood 28 millimeters, generally in line with what was forecast here in the Halifax area. And of course, the rain adding up over eastern Nova Scotia at this hour. And here's a look at kind of the winds over the last 4 hours to give you a sense of just how strong they were. I know they're kind of flashing off and on there, but Halifax Stanfield did receive a gust over 90 kilometers per hour. We've had some reports of gusts over 100 in the Sydney area, and that's where the strongest winds will be as we head into the evening. Conditions do improve, though, for the upcoming weekend, and we'll break down your full forecast coming up.
And Alistair will be back in the weather section for more on what's to come and when this weather will taper off. The Museum of Natural History is putting on an exhibit to learn more about our own anatomy. Media got a first look at the Body Worlds Vital exhibition today. The museum says it's an opportunity to better understand anatomy, health, and to gain a new appreciation for what it means to be human. It features authentic human body parts from donors.
The basis of this exhibit is a preservation technology called plastination. It's a vacuum process that allows us to permanently preserve real anatomical specimens. All water that all body tissues contained before is replaced by a silicone rubber, for instance, and that renders the specimen dry. It is odorless and you can literally grasp it.
The idea of the exhibit is to educate visitors through whole bodies, individual organs, and transparent body slices. Some of the displays have information about common diseases, the effects of tobacco use, and the mechanics of artificial body parts. The first exhibit of this kind began in 1995 in Tokyo, and they've since seen 52 million visitors worldwide. The Body Worlds Vital Tour will be on display at the Museum of Natural History to the public starting tomorrow until April 30th. And speaking of anatomy, staff at rural hospitals are getting to practice their skills on acutely ill patients, which are test dummies. The simulator touring eastern Nova Scotia allows for practice without patient risk. SaltWire's Aaron Beswick took a tour at the Inverness Hospital to see how it's done.
A simulator touring eastern Nova Scotia is allowing staff at rural hospitals to practice their skills stabilizing acutely ill patients. SaltWire visited Inverness Consolidated Memorial Hospital to see it in action.
Things that we need, we're going to have this patient positioned upright until we have our drugs in and we've done our 45-second count, so we're preparing for rapid sequence intubation. I am going to talk to family once we run this through, as well as Paul, and let him know what's going on.
So we had a gentleman who came in with a fever, really looking very visually unwell. Even just, a passerby would look at this person and say that they look sick. So they were brought immediately right from triage into our resuscitation bay, where very quickly we had a team of people checking what's called the patient's vital signs, so their blood pressure, their oxygen, their breathing rate, their heart rate, and getting them on monitors and beeping equipment to follow those things closely. And we're starting antibiotics and looking at other ways we're going to need to intervene, such as putting a breathing tube to support their breathing throughout while they're quite unwell.
Please take a
So one of the benefits of simulation is that it is essentially practice without patient risk. It allows us to bring our teams together around a mannequin, so pretty advanced technology that mimics a patient, and allow our teams to work through acute cases or cases where patients are very sick, things that particularly in our rural sites we may not see regularly or as often. But this allows us to work through the system of caring for those patients.
So these Sims Lab give us the opportunity to do a controlled environment, to practice our skills that we've learned as realistically as possible.
Classroom can only teach you so much, like how you feel in the situation and how you react and whatnot. You can't learn this stuff from a book. It's more so hands-on.
This is Aaron Beswick reporting for the SaltWire Network.
Halifax's Schoolhouse Institute professor and director Paul Bennett saw a familiar face when he went to the movie theater recently. Brendan Fraser, who has just been nominated for an Academy Award for his role in The Whale, is one of his former students. Bennett taught the former star of The Mummy when they both walked the halls of Upper Canada College in Toronto in 1982-83. He caught up with SaltWire's John Dumont today to discuss what it was like watching Fraser rise to fame, a ride that wasn't always smooth.
Now, Brendan is a fleeting experience. He's one of thousands of students, but he stands out because he struggled. He needed help. And I think he found a community at Upper Canada College when he was far away from home. And he spent 5 years in boarding. And I think it shows. There's some vulnerabilities. There's a desire to be accepted. I don't think you've heard the last of some of his challenges either.
It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with Catherine McNeil, the author of the book Dying to be Seen.
If you're showing or shining a light on where the failures or the failings are, what suggestions can you offer us, Kathy?
So in the book, I break down solutions for the federal government, the provincial government, and for us as the funders of the system, what we can do right away. And for the federal government, one of the things they must do, in my opinion, is shift the culture of healthcare to sort of a well-being economy. Now, there's a well-being economies government group, and it consists of 5 countries now. I believe they are Scotland, Wales, Finland, Iceland, and New Zealand. And what they are saying is, let's take the focus of GDP and money and mass consumerism and try and figure out where those GDP figures are falling in terms of what kind of society we create and what it does to the health of the nation. So one of the things I call upon the federal government to do is to join the well-being economies group. Culturally, that will shift the change to we as a federal government, we are interested in the health and welfare of the nation. The other thing I ask them to do is to end the fiscal food fight with the provinces and territories over money, even if it means sitting down individually and doling out those Canada Health transfer dollars to each jurisdiction and tailor it to the needs of the 13 provinces and territories.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of saltwire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
Jami Dawson is a wide receiver from California, but he's going to be leaving the warm climate and coming to Canada to play football in the Atlantic University Sport Football Conference for the St. Francis Xavier X-Men. Jami, congratulations on committing to the X-Men. What led to your decision to come to Canada?
Thank you so much. So what led me to my decision to coming out to Canada was me knowing that the weather would be great out there. It reminds me so much of Cali. Of course, it's going to be a little bit colder, but not only that, but just seeing the football team, I feel like I'd really fit in over there.
Also, your dad spent a little bit of time at St. X, and you're a junior to his senior. What do you know about your dad's time at X?
So I know that he was a corner going over there. Of course, I'm going over there as a receiver. So knowing that he played the opposite side of the ball is just really amazing to me. and the fact that I call myself a mini him. So knowing that I'm going to be playing the opposite side and being a return man also like he was is really amazing.
How will the differences in the Canadian field really enhance your game?
I feel like because due to the field being longer out here, since it's so narrow, I feel like kind of trapped. And especially knowing the DB position, I know that that's really going to help the other team. So knowing that the field is just going to be longer and wider, it makes me feel comfortable knowing that I have a lot of room to work with.
What were those conversations like with your dad? What kind of things did you and your dad talk about that led you to make that decision to come to X?
One of the main things that we were talking about was he was really asking me as of what I wanted to do and as of where I wanted to go. But he was also telling me about how great the football team, the program, and the coaching was while he was out there, as well as the people. So hearing all that and hearing how open he was to it and how enthusiastic he was about this school really made me want to go out there.
Part 2 of my conversation with Johnny Dawson airs tomorrow. In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Dawson still on his feet to the 20 and finally drugged down at the 15-yard line.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now. To see what's coming up in the forecast, we're going to check back in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Hi again, Kate. Well, conditions will be improving across the province throughout the night tonight. Still some gusty winds to talk about. We'll break it all down, but nice weather in store for the upcoming weekend, which is good news. But let's take a look at that weather timeline. And you can see early this evening, the steadiest rain still over eastern Nova Scotia, but back further west in Halifax and the southwest, mainly cloudy, but more so scattered bands of showers and drizzle. Conditions are calming down, but winds will still be gusty. As we go through the evening hours, mainly cloudy, just a chance of showers, and then as temperatures drop, you can see we start to cool down through the evening and overnight hours. We could see a few flurries mixing in, so just take care if you are heading out later tonight and tomorrow morning. As temperatures drop back and below freezing, we could see some icy spots on the roadways. But for tomorrow, generally mainly cloudy in the morning, some sunny breaks, but as we go through the afternoon, it's looking pretty good overall with a general mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures will be climbing to near and above freezing across the province. Let's take a look, though, at that wind gust outlook. The strongest winds this evening still over eastern Nova Scotia. On the mainland, we're back over to more of a southwesterly flow, and winds gusting generally 50 up to 70 kilometers per hour. But as the evening progresses, the winds do taper off across the entire province. It will still be breezy throughout the night tonight and tomorrow, with winds out of the southwest and eventually over to the west, generally gusting 30 up to 50 kilometers per hour. Some areas will see winds gusting up to 60, so just keep in mind that it will be breezy as you make your way out tonight and throughout the day tomorrow. As we take a look at your 7-day forecast, that chance of flurries tomorrow morning in Halifax. Otherwise, looking at a beautiful day, though. And then the weekend, mostly cloudy, but I do think we may manage partly cloudy skies. I think it'll be high cloud cover, so that sun's going to filter through. Our next system is on Monday, which looks to be relatively weak, some rain or snow showers, and then looking pretty good Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. Temperatures, though, set to cool down by the end of next week. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to saltwire.com. And you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.